Babs, let's kick it off with the quarterback position. Who should we definitely start this week? I know you have one guy on this list that may even still be on waivers.
Yeah, we'll start off with Joe Burrow. Remember, there's 4 teams on a bye this week, and we've got quarterbacks injured all over the place. Joe Burrow is a guy who I've liked over the last 3 weeks based on the matchups. He's averaged over 20 fantasy points in that time. He did have a bit of a slow start to the season, but he's turned things around. I like the matchup this week against New Orleans. They gave up 24 fantasy points to Geno Smith last week. So this is an offense in Cincinnati that should be able to find success. And speaking of Geno Smith, listen, I'm in, all right? I mean, it took 5 weeks. I'm in, though. Geno Smith has been great. He's been better than Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, and a whole bunch of other quarterbacks that we drafted far ahead of him. He's completing 75.2% of his passes, which is bananas. He's been great. He's got the Cardinals coming up this week. They've allowed 3 quarterbacks, Jen, to score at least 19 fantasy points this season.
Yeah, Geno Smith also has the highest passer rating in the league right now, ahead of Patrick Mahomes. It blows my mind. Speaking of Geno Smith, you're saying maybe Geno Smith was always better than this guy who you're sitting this week?
Well, maybe not always, but at least the first 5 weeks of this season, and that's Russell Wilson. And I get it. You probably have to play him. I totally understand that, unless maybe you picked up Geno Smith. But Russell's not looked good. He's injured. He has scored fewer than 18 fantasy points in all but 1 game. He's had 3 games with fewer than 12 points, and he's got the Chargers. Their defense has allowed fewer than 18 fantasy points to all but 1 quarterback this year. So temper expectations with Russell Wilson. And then Matthew Stafford. Hey, I am sitting him until he wakes up. And I don't know that that's going to happen even this week against Carolina. It's not like this is an awful matchup, but look at Stafford's offensive line. That's really the offensive thing going on in Los Angeles. They cannot protect him. Stafford's been taking a beating. And again, this isn't a terrible matchup. I think Stafford's probably just outside of the QB1s. But if you have a Geno Smith, for example, I would be sitting Matthew Stafford. Let's hope he wakes up this week, because it has been rough sledding, not only for Stafford's fantasy managers, but also the Rams offense.